Now I've started to paint the left side of the blade, and as you can see, I've had to turn my page to make it easier to work with the brush. In this case here, I have been dampening the paper a little bit because these areas here are quite dark. Now, I'm using a very concentrated mix right now because I know it's going to be dark anyway. And most of it's going to be along the edge of the midrib. And don't forget, your veins have to be very thin, and this is all graded wash. I'm not too worried about it appearing a little patchy because some of that is going to be modified by the pillowing that we do in some of the last steps. The important thing is to make sure that those edges that need to be soft are definitely softened so that you don't get hard edges where you don't want them. And we're pretty much ready to start thinking about pillowing at this point. Now the leaf is blocked in with quite a bit of shadow detail. We can see where our secondary veins are. We can see that the center midrib is showing up very distinctly. And now I think it's time to use a little bit of dry brush and a diluted version of our shadow color and clean up some of the edges before we start to pillow. Remember, when you are filling in or correcting any edges, you always want to work with a color that is lighter than that which is there so that you can build that color to match the existing color. This is a dilution of the concentrated shadow color that I made. It's in a separate little well. This is my full mix, this is my diluted mix, and then these are my local color variations. So I'm going to be using this one, which has quite a bit of water in it, and I'm going to start to clean up edges that I see that need doing, and before I start to pillow. And I'm using my number 2 miniature to do this. Now remember, green has a tendency to lift, so you want to work small sections at a time. No, don't overwork them as you are trying to clean up anything that is in need of cleanup. I'm especially paying attention to the veination, where it looks a little on the thicker side, because in many cases they are supposed to be hairline thin. I'm going to erase or lift some of my guidelines. I don't think I need them anymore. I'm especially going to clean up some of these edges just so that they're a little better defined. And as soon as I'm done with this aspect of it, where I'm softening things and cleaning up what seems to look a little loose, we will proceed to pillowing. It's always important to correct things as you're going along when you have so many layers on things that you don't know where your errors are coming from. When doing dry brush work, it's really important to create a plate of skins so that you can pick up the paint without worrying about having too much water in the brush and not applying the dry brush as efficiently as possible. So what you want to do is you want to take some of your colors that you have for this painting and you want to put them on your glass plate or your porcelain plate in varying degrees of concentration. So we're going to take some of this and then merge some of it so that it kind of creates transition colors for you, and even dilute some of it so that it gives you the opportunity to use something that might come in handy. So here we have a variety of tones that we can use for our dry brush work. Now we'll let this dry so that we can use it for detail. Now that we're ready to pillow, it's very important to look at what the pillowing itself does. There are several variations in the details of these sections. If you look at some of them, you'll see there are very distinct lines, and there's also a very subtle gradation so that each one of these pillows acts like a miniature of the original section of the blade, where you have a dark, a light, a medium tone, maybe another dark, depending on how the formation or surface forms and is picked up by the light. In some cases, for instance, down in this area here, you'll see some pillowing, but the edge on this one is almost just a hairline of color. So you're going to have little variations, and it's going to be important to not only look at the thinness or the shape of the pillow, but also to think about the value of the line that you're putting down. If you make all of these very strong lines, it's going to look too much like a grid and not like a pillow. So it's important to vary the value of the strokes that you are applying to the surface of this blade. This line here is very light. This line is very light. This line is very light. Some of them, and those lines, you need to change the value of your stroke so that you create this variation and change in the way that the pillow appears on this surface of this leaf. This is a good time to use your skins. You can pick areas of value from your skins that are lighter or darker, and make sure you test before you do anything. So now we're going to work in very small sections and study each area individually as we progress to developing the pillows on this leaf.